Alright, folks, strap in, because we're about to dive into The Last of Us on HBO. This show has been hyped like it's the second coming of Christ, but let me tell you, it's more like the second coming of Yoko Ono's singing career. On HBO is a survival tale that's supposed to be as thrilling as a high-speed chase. But let's just say it left me feeling more disappointed than a necrophiliac at a cremation ceremony. The show takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where a fungus has turned most of humanity into flesh-eating zombies. The story follows Joel, a tough guy with a heart of gold, and Ellie, a teenage girl that pretends to be tougher than a $2 steak. Together, they embark on a journey across the country to deliver a cure to a group of rebels called the Fireflies. Now that you understand the premise of the show, let's dig into the pros and cons for The Last of Us. And let's be real, the cons are going to outweigh the pros like a sumo wrestler on a seesaw. First, let's talk about the cinematography. The show looks good, I'll give it that. The lighting and camera work are top notch, and the post-apocalyptic world they've created is believable and immersive. But the visuals can't make up for the lackluster script and characters, like Joel. Now I have to say, the acting is decent. It's just that the characters in the show are flat and riddled with modern day TV tropes. It's like the writers threw in a bunch of cliches into a blender and hit the bland button. I understand that Joel can't crack a smile because he's been through more trauma than a piñata at a toddler's birthday party. Like, I get that. The dude's been through some serious stuff. So it's no wonder he's developed a perpetual scowl and a voice that sounds like he's been gargling gravel and whiskey for the last 20 years. Honestly, the guy makes Eeyore look like a cheerleader on Red Bull. I'm surprised Ellie can even understand what he's saying half the time. Maybe that's why they have such a strong bond. They're both fluent in grumpy old man.
Morning, dickhead.
Hello, moron.
Seriously, if I had to spend 5 minutes with him, I'd be begging for a zombie to come eat my brains, just for a change of pace. The only thing more depressing than the post-apocalyptic world in The Last of Us is watching the show itself. It's like the writers heard the phrase, show don't tell, and took it as a personal insult. They spend more time telling us what's happening than actually showing it. Which is an even bigger problem because the pacing in the show is slower than a slug with a hangover. Sure, there are some action sequences that'll have you on the edge of your seat, but they're few and far between. And the emotional moments are so forced, they make a Hallmark movie look like a Kubrick masterpiece. Honestly, the only thing this show has successfully done is make me appreciate how much better life is outside of the TV screen. Thanks, The Last of Us. Okay. But let's not be completely negative. There are a few pros to the action scenes. The fight scenes are intense and well choreographed, and the use of practical effects adds to the realism. Now, speaking of realism and practical effects, the zombies, especially the clickers, look fantastic. However, they sound like a garbage disposal having a meltdown. It's hard to take them serious at times. I mean, watching The Last of Us is like going on a first date that you know is going to be bad. But you go anyways, because you're desperate for some company. The themes of the show include love, loss, and survival. But let's be real here. The only thing we're surviving is the urge to turn off the TV and do literally anything else. The Last of Us is just a ripoff of every other zombie show or movie out there. There's nothing new or exciting here. Just the same old, tired tropes. It's like the writers watched The Walking Dead and said, hey, let's do that, but with less talent and more cliches. Oh, and this time, let's make the zombies sound like a chorus of dying cats. But I'll give the show credit for one thing. It's a great way to cure insomnia. Just turn on an episode of The Last of Us, and you'll be out like a light faster than a narcoleptic in a bouncy castle. Okay, I want to take a second to talk a little bit about the episode titles. The The quarantine zone, the outbreak day, the fireflies, they sound like they are written by a teenage goth who just discovered Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, the writers seem to think they're undergoing some deep exploration of the human condition, but it's really just a bunch of brooding and violence with a side of fungus. The Last of Us is just a mess. It's like the writers took everything good about the video game and flushed it down the toilet faster than Taco Bell diarrhea. But hey, don't take my word for it. Watch it if you want to experience disappointment on a whole new level. It's like a vaccine for optimism.